Hey yo, what it do, what it do? It's your boy Q, and look, we have our field set for VCT Champions out in Seoul. We've got only a week until things start up, and look, I know I did pick'ems for each region individually last week. If you guys want to kind of see how my picks compared, feel free to check out that playlist right there. But I figured, you know what, this past week, we've already kind of been busy, man. We've got VCT popping off, SSL as far as for Rocket League. We got Esports World Cup stuff coming up this weekend and the next couple of weekends as well. So instead of doing a full video for each region, I actually, on my podcast here, the OnCue Esports podcast, which we do drop each and every week, which I'll also leave a tag right up there for you guys as well. We actually talked about the playoffs across our couple of different regions. So we're going to go ahead and play that portion here. If you guys enjoy the vibes, if you're looking for a good podcast that kind of keeps up with esports across the board, not just VCT, but RLCS, ALGS, definitely make sure you guys check that out. If you enjoy the vibes, if you're first time through, help me out, man. We're chasing down that first 1,000 subscribers. We're almost down to that first 500. So if you guys enjoyed the video, do me a favor, man, and hit that subscribe button down there. Turn those notifications on. Hit the like button, of course, as well. Those things help out with that YouTube algorithm and get the video in front of more people. All right, I'm gonna go let you guys get to the video till we get y'all back for the next one, man. Don't forget, with everything crazy going on in the world today, be true, be you, be sincere, game hard and love hard. All right, y'all, catch y'all later. Peace. Let me know what's up. But man, you know what, let's go ahead and get down to it. We got a lot to cover. I told y'all we were gonna talk about those VCT playoffs. Let's get started off in the Pacific region, just like VCT got things started off, man. It was a banger. I really enjoyed, the play that I got to watch. Obviously, I had to watch back VODs most. I didn't get to catch a lot of it live. I tried telling you guys in my predictions. I tried telling y'all that GenG was going to be coming out on top. The big surprise for me, though, was DRX. I feel like I was sleeping on DRX quite a bit. Maybe wasn't giving this roster enough credit. Obviously, DRX, they had a really strong stage number 2. I just wasn't sure if they were quite ready enough to be able to play that consistent high level throughout the course of a weekend. They show that they are indeed ready. And really, if you think about it, as far as for GenG played and took down the other top 2 teams within the region throughout their course of that upper bracket, taking down, of course, DRX, taking down PaperX. They didn't get a chance to play against Talon. Talon, of course, did secure that 4th spot in the region for Pacific with their victory over Team Secret. Man, I was really hoping to see Team Secret be able to pull through on that. Really thought Team Secret was going to roll in the back half of the stage. I do think Talon Esports, though, also in their own right, they've been looking pretty good for stage number 2. Talon Esports just might be a sleeper team for Seoul. I don't know if it's like a team that I would say is going to pop off or anything like that, but I do think Talon Esports might upset some people. But otherwise, I do feel like Pacific, as much it was like really good play, it pretty well played out how we were expecting. Again, I think the surprise of DRX over PaperX was a little bit surprising for some people. But I even said I wouldn't have been surprised if DRX gave them a run in... oh no, I had Team Secret there, didn't I? Oh, I really messed up my predictions. Yo, hey, but even if you didn't get to check them, though, you will notice I at least got my pick'ems. I had 3 of my top 4 right, as well as I did have the champions in the grand final also right. I'll make sure I leave a link for those pick'ems right up there so you can kind of see how they compared. Obviously, I gave away one big glaring mistake that I had. But also, man, big shout out to Talon. Again, taking down Team Secret in close knockout action. A best of 3 that went 28 rounds, 2-11-13 matchups. Team Secret, this close, man. That's talking about the difference of qualifying for Seoul or not between these 2 teams. Secret wins that. They qualify. Talon won, so they're going to be the end up being the ones going in that 4th spot as far as based off of points. But GenG going to end up being the winners out in Pacific. I gotta say, I really like to see that GenG has been able to continue their persistence at the top of Pacific. Remember, when we kind of look back as far as Americas, and of course, we're going to touch on that here in just a minute as far as today. But when you think about Americas, Sentinels, they popped off, at the beginning of the year as far as the tournament, but then they didn't really look good in stage number 1, right? As far as here, well, GenG won the last playoffs. They look really good through Pacific. They're now your Pacific champions. We're going to talk about the brackets here very briefly here in just a moment, but I do think GenG definitely has to be one of those teams heading into Seoul that you look at as a favorite. I don't know. You guys let me know if you guys think that Seoul is one of those, if you guys think GenG is one of those teams that can definitely be a threat as far as when they get to Seoul. Obviously, big shout out to GenG continuing their dominance within the region. I do think, though, like the sleeper story really is DRX. I mean, it's the story of, the rebuild and then being able to stay consistent, being able to stick to the plan, being able to be comfortable with your roster once you did make those changes at the beginning of the season, right? And then, I mean, DRX, they've just looked phenomenal. And even when you look at their matchup against GenG, I mean, other than obviously the last match, but both of the other two maps that they lost, going the distance, forcing an overtime even. I mean, DRX also right there. So I think when you talk about as far as for the top four, pretty close. I think Pacific is going to be a region that definitely is going to be able to make some noise when it comes to champions, right? But of course, Pacific wasn't the only region that had their playoffs. We knocked them across all regions. Also, by the way, we're not going to be covering China, just because I don't really watch Chinese VCT. I would hate to be able to go over it. Maybe we'll just briefly look at it. But honestly, I can't really give you a review as the way that I did about all the other regions where we did watch back VODs. We did tune in live. We were actually kind of watching the games itself. You know what I mean? EMEA, though, I would say is probably the region that had the most surprises. I mean, when you look at the upper bracket semifinals here, just very briefly, right? Neither team that was already in that upper bracket, Team Heretics nor FUT, neither of them advancing into that upper bracket final. But of course, we'd be doing disservice to the EMEA playoffs, because honestly, the EMEA playoffs were probably my favorite region to watch when it came to the playoffs, because we had great series, even just from the elimination rounds. I mean, Karmine Corp doing a great job coming out and taking Icebox off of Fnatic, and then forcing Fnatic into overtime onto Sunset. It looked like Karmine Corp was about to be knocking out Fnatic and keeping their dreams alive, which would have been huge for them. Instead, they dropped out, kind of had to wait and see how the rest of things played out for that last spot when it came to Seoul. Spoiler alert, they didn't get it. Team Vitality, I mean, just going on an absolute tear. And it started off with a loss on Haven to Na'Vi. But then after that, the next two maps, they looked phenomenal. I mean, Na'Vi only being able to secure 12 rounds through the last two maps of the knockout round. I did see it posted somewhere that on X from one of the higher ups over at Na'Vi that they are going to be looking to do a roster rebuild. I'm going to be kind of curious to see what that roster rebuild looks like. I know this is obviously a big core of a roster they've kind of kept together for a while. They've underperformed here now for two seasons here now. I'll be curious if they try to go like full rebuild sort of deal, or if they kind of do like a half roster or what they do. Definitely going to be keeping an eye on Na'Vi, though, during the offseason for sure. But for Team Vitality, I mean, they just ended up going on a tear. They took down Team Heretics in a very hard-fought series. I mean, that series was a banger. Every single map going the distance, whether it was, a 14-12 that goes just into overtime, or I think that was actually supposed to be 13-11 here. I don't know why it says 13-10. But Team Vitality, being able to turn some heads, they take down Heretics, and then they ended up having to face off against Heretics again in the lower bracket there as well. So they didn't have Fnatic's number. I was kind of concerned when they went back up to the grand finals to see if they might have a chance to stand up with them. It looked like there for a while they were pretty good. Once they got into bind, though, I mean, Fnatic just really hit their form. Momentum did what momentum does best and really started to turn the tides. Fnatic ended up hoisting the trophies. They're going to be able to have a lot of momentum heading into Seoul. And I like the story for Fnatic as well, kind of similarly to the story of DRX of kind of being able to weather the storm, right, and being able to kind of turn things around stage 2 heading into the playoffs. Although DRX weren't able to hoist the trophy in Pacific, Fnatic were. And I mean, Fnatic, you take down FUT Esports, you take down Vitality. Yeah, you didn't get a crack at Team Heretics, but I mean, you can only play against the people who do go against you on the opposite side of that bracket. They handled their business. I think they're going to be really fun to watch come Seoul, which of course is going to leave us with the best region out of the three. Maybe a little bit of bias there, right? But let's go ahead and check out Americas, see how the playoffs played out over there. Of course, is it a VCT Americas Stage 2 playoffs without KRU going on a run? Go on a run! Crew going to be able to take down Cloud9 in a, I mean, again, I feel like I always say a banger of the series. Honestly, I feel like a lot of VCT this season has been really, really good. Valorant, I think Valorant's at its peak right now when it comes to viewership, or sorry, as far as the excitement as a viewer. I don't know if the viewership's actually at its peak. I don't know those numbers, but I feel like for me watching it, it's a very exciting brand of Valorant to be watching as a fan. I've been enjoying it. Crew here, I mean, the first two maps going the distance, then going to be able to pull away from them just a little bit on Haven. I mean, Crew, then from there, yeah, you aren't able to beat Leviatan, but guess what? The only person who was able to beat Leviatan was G2. But other than that, I mean, you beat 100 Thieves, you take away 100 Thieves' chance of being able to go out to Seoul, right? I mean, Crew doing what they needed to do, getting into that top 3, able to secure themselves a spot. Man, the underdog story for Crew always seems to come around each and every year. Well, I shouldn't say each and every year. It's been a very short, obviously, history here for VCT Americas. But Crew always finds a way to get it done, man. Even in that lower brackets final against Leviathan, I would almost argue Crew in the lower bracket looked better against Leviathan than G2 looked against Leviathan in the grand finals. I don't know. Maybe that's a hot take. You guys let me know down in those comments below. But I think that does, again, go to show the depth that even Americas is going to have when it comes to... So, I mean, honestly, the depth in the 3 regions that I do cover the most. Again, we're not going to really talk about China that much. I can't really tell you that much of it. The 3 regions... They've been really fun to watch this year, man. I think Seoul is going to be so amazing. I saw some people talking about how Seoul shouldn't have a 16-team field. They felt like it was maybe too much for champions. Honestly, I feel like when you look at the competitive nature of all 3 of the at least bigger regions that have been around for a couple years here now, I think it kind of makes sense. I mean, let's even look at it, right? Like when you go and look at champions, just look at how these group stages played out. You know what I mean? Fnatic, DRX, Crew, Bilibili Gaming, and Group A, pretty stout. Group B, though, GenG, FPX, Team Heretics, Sentinels, rough, bro. Group C, Leviatan, Vitality, Trace, Talon Esports. If you ask me, probably sounds like those top 2 are advancing, but I could be wrong. Like I said, Talon could be a sleeper there. And then Group D, other than EDG, and it's just because EDG's, well, I mean, EDG, I mean, it is EDG, though. EDG, I always consider a wild card, man. I just feel like sometimes EDG has a tendency to choke, but usually not during group play, which makes Group D, to me, probably the group of death. I know a lot of people are talking about the strength of Group B. I would definitely say Group B and Group D are the 2 that do, like, give me the sense that are probably going to be the toughest. Just because I think if you look at Group A, like, it's probably Fnatic and DRX, right? Maybe Crew goes on a run, but I think I think they expired their run just to get to this point. And I just don't trust Bilibili Gaming. You'll notice that that's a theme for the Chinese teams. And I feel really bad for saying that. It's just we haven't seen them perform on the global stage, right? Even in Group B for Team Heretics, you beat FunFPX. You beat FPX. You have to face up against either GenG or Sentinels, 2 teams that you have lost to before this season. So Heretics going to have themselves a tough little road as well. Of course, they don't have to figure it out. They want to get through group play. You know what I'm saying? I do feel like in Group B, though, I feel like it's probably GenG and Team Heretics. I just feel like Sentinels probably. I just don't feel like Sentinels have had the momentum in the back half of the split. Or sorry, I keep saying split instead of stage. I just don't think like Sentinels have looked as impressive as I would like them to be heading into this, especially heading into this group. I mean, you start off with GenG. GenG quite arguably the best team in the world. I think that they do prove that in Seoul. I don't know, man. I feel like it's probably GenG, Team Heretics, in Group B. I said it earlier, Group C is probably Leviathan and Team Vitality. Bro, Group D is so hard to call. Like, I would love to call EDG just because I would love to see a 4-region Final Four like I really would, and I think EDG is China's best hope for it. But man, you're in a group with G2, PaperX, and FUT Esports. I think the good news for them is that to qualify, you're only going to have to beat one of G2 or PaperX. That's the good news. Oh, I guess not. I guess if you beat EDG but then lose to whoever wins between G2 or PaperX, you're probably going to have to... Yeah, I don't know. I feel like looking at that there, when I look at it, I think it's G2 PaperX probably advancing from Group D. Just because, like, FUT... Is it fair to really say FUT struggled, though, in the EMEA playoffs? FUT lost to Fnatic, and then they lost to Heretics. Kind of a tough draw. I think the problem for me is that they did have, like, one bad map. I guess they didn't have a bad map on against Heretics. Heretics was a banger of a series. Fnatic, they looked awful on Haven. I don't know. I think Group D is probably going to be G2 and PaperX probably. I love the G2 story, man, from Ascension to Champions. Granted, obviously, not the complete roster, but it is the core. I would love to see G2 advancing to the playoffs, honestly. But that's just earlier. That's like very, very early predictions. I'm probably actually going to do a full pick'ems, honestly. Here, maybe this week. Nah, probably not this week. We got a lot going on this week. Maybe next week. So definitely keep an eye on that when it comes to over on YouTube. To make sure you kind of keep an eye for that when that video drops. That's probably going to be my 8 advancing as far as early predictions. But y'all can kind of peep in on that and see if anything changes between now and then. But interested to let me know. I'm interested to hear from you guys as far as what you guys think. As far as early thoughts on Champions, as well as kind of, any surprises that maybe you had from any of the playoffs as far as for VCT. I feel like next week we probably won't have much to talk about Valorant. Maybe we'll kind of peek in. Maybe then we'll look at actual pick'ems. I feel like next week, though, we got a lot that we're going to talk about next week, so maybe we just won't talk about too much VCT. But again, keep an eye out for that video over on YouTube.